Hello, gorgeous human friends. Let me get a little closer to the mic. Happy Thursday, or whatever day it is. Hang on. Sorry if that made a loud noise. Hopefully it didn't. Happy Thursday. Well, it's Thursday when I record these. They come out every Thursday. If you're not, be sure to set a reminder, carve out some time on Thursdays to watch this. You can also subscribe, hit the little bell. You'll be notified every time these get uploaded on Thursdays. If you don't watch them on Thursdays, it's totally fine too. Everything that we talk about is still going to be applicable. And if you are new and you're like, what are you talking about, Colleen? Welcome to the No Food Rules News. I do these every single Thursday where I just round up different articles or topics that have come out in the past week, and we chat about roughly 5 of them, just in a super casual kind of way. Drop little nuggets of wisdom along the way, but just kind of a way for us to stay really relevant on some things, and things that might not necessarily like have a place, like maybe they don't need a full video or an Instagram post isn't the best way to chat about them. So these are just kind of our chance to do it all. Like I said, we do them every Thursday. They are still relevant, so you could go back and listen to other ones from previous weeks. All the info is still relevant. It just might not be as timely. So with that, let's dive in. But first, before we get to today's stories, I have some exciting news. So let me, first of all, ask you guys, how do you feel about your eating habits? And not even necessarily the way that you currently are or are not eating, but your idea of what healthy is. Like, do you feel like, okay, I generally understand what that means? Thanks to social media, a lot of our ideas of what is healthy and what is not healthy is so skewed. So for the past couple weeks, I have been working so hard on something for you guys. So I previously had a quiz that you could take where it would tell you, do you have food rules? Do you not have food rules? But I was like, typical Colleen fashion, I'm very competitive with myself. I was like, you can do better. And so finally, you can take the brand new quiz. It is only 30 seconds, and it is going to give you an exact percentage breakdown of your healthy to maybe less than healthy, room for improvement eating habits. And it's also going to give you advice based on that. So I am so excited that this is now live. It is, again, it's just, the quiz was helpful before, but this is just like so much more helpful. So I would recommend taking 30 seconds to take that quiz. I will link it in the description of this video for you. So you set yourself up for a lifetime of healthy habits with those 30 seconds, in truly healthy habits, not the skewed. I mean, we have some extreme diet topics that we're going to talk about today. They're everywhere. So take 30 seconds, take that just to make sure that you're on the right track, get some advice, and I think you're going to love it. And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So be sure to comment below if you do take it. Yeah, I'm excited. I was very excited to share that with you guys. Like I said, I'll put that in the description. But for today's stories, we have some fun ones. A couple of them made me smile. A couple of them made me go all like wonky-eyed. We've got two stories about extreme diets that we will chat about, but we've got some good ones today. I feel like I say that every week. Not gonna lie, some weeks stories are just like everywhere, and it's hard to narrow it down to just a handful to talk about. And other weeks, it's like the stories feel dry, but we've got some good ones. So let's get into it, my friends. Our first article, our first story today the headline is Mom's Meal Prep Hack Goes Viral for Literally Just Being Chipotle. So the article says parenting influencer Samantha Matthews posted a pair of videos on Instagram and TikTok about her meal prep quote unquote hack that went viral. In the posts, Matthew does her version of meal prep, which her husband Dan points out is debatedly not meal prep at all. My toxic trait, she says, is saying I will meal prep, but really I make all the employees at Chipotle do it for me. In the clip, Matthew enters her kitchen holding a large box and bag from Chipotle Catering, setting them down on her counter before doing a victory dance. She also, first of all, I love this so much. And I've joked with my husband, kind of not joking, whenever we get Chinese food, I like order so much Chinese food because I love having leftovers of it and I will use it in a variety of ways. Like you can get like cashew chicken or something and like use it in a wrap or in a salad throughout the week. Like I love just having it I love you guys just like I think the place that I has them calls them like Buddha bowl veggies or something like that. And oh my gosh, I just love like the side of veggies and I will just order a bunch of them and the sauce, like I'll reuse all for it. So this actually, I was like, I get you. Or I've also seen someone say that they were doing meal prep and they just ordered a pizza and they put like a pizza and those are more like joking, but this is legit, you guys. And she says, for those weeks that are crazy, it's the most healthy fast food that I can think of. Plus, I really like it. So it just seems easier and it tastes good. And in my opinion, this girl knows what is up. I love this so much. And I think that there's, especially so here on this channel, we talk a lot about not dieting, about not having food rules. But that doesn't mean we don't think about I know she says like this might not be the most quote unquote healthy. We do talk about what's going to fuel our body. We do talk about ways to meal prep and meal plan for both the physical benefits to fuel your body in a way that feels good and also for it's just freaking practical, right? Right now, if you are a member of the society, which is where I do all of my teaching, all of my coaching, we actually have we do different challenges each month and we have a meal prep challenge going on. So we're doing that together. We're having that be a focus of the month as it's right now September. Like a lot of people have changes in schedules going on. So we're doing that. So if you're in the society, like this can be absolutely an option for you for meal prep. But I think that when it comes to meal prep, like again, it's nuanced. It doesn't have to look like the perfectly portioned containers with the chicken breast and the broccoli and the rice or whatever it is that we so often like correlate with fitness influencers and diet culture. It can be anything. And literally Chipotle, I think for me, the way that I talk about meal first of all, there's a difference between meal prep and meal planning. Meal prep is quite literally like everything is prepped. And then meal planning is more of, I know that this is what I'm going to make or put together on this day. You have a plan for it, right? And personally, I do like a mix of both. So, for example, dinners for me are mostly meal planned. I don't really do anything before. I just like, no, I'm going to make this 20-minute dinner. If something takes more than 20 or 30 minutes, like, I'm sorry, I'm not making it for dinner. Maybe I'll do it on like a weekend, but like it's not happening during the week. So there's a difference between meal prepping and meal planning. And then for lunches, I typically do a little bit of a combination. So for example, this week I've been working on adding a lot more recipes to the society, and I've been having a copycat Chick-fil-A kale crunch salad with chicken nuggets on top. Guys, I'm loving it. If you're in the society, the recipe will be coming, I think, next month. Oh my gosh. So essentially what I did is I made a big batch of homemade chicken nuggets earlier this week. I made a big batch of the dressing. So those parts I prepped, but then each day I just kind of like put it together. I like massage the kale and all this with the dressing and the oil and just kind of put it together each day. It's not like it's in each individual container. So there's a little bit of a difference with that. But like back to this article, I could not love this more. And I think that one of the biggest things when you are starting off with meal prepping or meal planning, to be honest, whenever you're starting off with even living a life of no food rules, this is one of the first things that I have people do is make sure that your meals have a source of carb, fat, and protein for the most part, right? And it's understanding when do we use that, what I call gentle nutrition, and when do we just say, you know what, I'm literally just craving a bowl of mac and cheese, so that's what I'm going to have. That's a whole other topic of how to know when and when to not do that. But one of the first things that we talk about is having carbs, fat, and protein at meals. And I think you can absolutely do this here, right? You can get the rice from Chipotle, you can get the protein, there's fat in there, like, this is fabulous. And you have the veggies. And she also said, like, it tastes good to me, right? I think that is 100%. So, like, if you're worried, like, well, that's not healthy, I disagree. As a registered dietitian, I think that it absolutely can be. And she did a lot. Okay, there's a couple, the article talks about common themes where people were commenting on the, like, her comment section, and a lot of people said, well, like, your husband is complaining that, I thought this was a little funny, your husband's complaining that this isn't like meal prep, this is just you having someone else do it. And people were saying, like, well, what are you doing for it? And I was like, you're right. But then other people did comment, like, well, it would be so much more affordable if you just made that yourself. But guess what, like, they break it down, which I'll give you the breakdown to it, and I'll also give you exactly what she ordered. But I think that, yes, taking quote unquote shortcuts like this can come with financial privileges, because it would be cheaper for you to make it yourself at home, but not everyone has the time to do that, right? If you are this girl's a busy mom, she might not have that time, or it's not where she wants to put her energy. And if she has the financial means, by all means, go for it. But I think you could do something very similar and save some money by obviously cooking it yourself. So I don't think there, like, is a right or wrong here. And I don't think it's morally superior for someone to make it themselves versus taking a shortcut like this. Like, you guys know, if you watch any of my videos, my full days of eating, I am all for using convenience foods, sauces. You don't have to make them yourself. You can buy them from the store, frozen veggies. Like, take the shortcuts, friends. So like I said, people commented about that. And so this is what she ordered, and this is the breakdown. So Matthews tells us that she ordered a build your own double, which is a Chipotle catering option that is meant to serve 10, but she was able to portion out to 14 meals. Again, take that as a grain of salt. Everyone eats different amounts. Go with your body. Her total came to $134.04, which means it costs her family about $9.57 per meal. So I mean, I feel like that's on maybe a little cheaper than if you were to just go to Chipotle and buy something for lunch. But also, you don't have to go, right? It's in your house. So I love this. If you want to do it, order a build your own double. Give it a go. I think this is just, it's kind of fun. And like I said, I'm here for it. So have you guys ever done that? Like, ordered something like that? Like I said, whenever I buy Chinese, I always want to order a ton so I have leftovers for days. I also do that with Thanksgiving. Like, my goal is to not cook. If Thanksgiving's on Thursday, I want to not cook until Monday. And usually it goes to like Tuesday. But anywho, cooking for an army. Story number two, we are going to talk about some numbers here. So if that is triggering to you, feel free to skip ahead to the next story. But story number 2 says, the headline is, I'm a bodybuilder and I eat 17,000 calories on my cheat day. So Jack, this dude, he's been crowned the Cheat King. He's 29 after sharing his impressive spread nearly double that of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's indulgences. He touted stacks of pancakes, swimming in maple syrup, towers of bagels, and multiple pizzas, polishing off the savory items ahead of his decadent dessert, which consisted of brownies, cookies, and ice cream. He swears his cheat day buffet was neither a physical nor mental challenge, saying his relationship with food is really good. I was full, but I felt absolutely fine. I wasn't forcing anything down, he explained, noting that he had not even worked out that day. I have a naturally high appetite and a high metabolism. I feel like there's so much for us to unpack here, you guys. So first of all, let's talk about the cheat day of it all, right? I don't agree with having cheat days. I think that the healthiest option for so many reasons, is going to be for us to learn to enjoy those foods in ways that feel good and in quote unquote moderation and balance, right? And if you are saying, oh, I can't do that, Colleen, I don't have moderation or balance, it's something you learn. And I am confident that I can teach every single person on the face of this planet how to eat balanced and moderation with no food rules. I'm so confident in that. So if you're like, I don't know how, you might not, but you can learn. So I recommend that just when we say we can only have something on certain days or a certain amount, certain times, that actually makes us want that food more. We kind of become like a toddler and we're like, oh, you can't tell me, tell me I can't do that. I'm going to want to do it more, right? We want to rebel. It's a human psychological thing, right? When we will fixate on things that we kind of shouldn't do. And then when we do eat those foods, this is documented so many times, we're going to eat those foods more likely in a binge-like style when we finally do allow ourselves. So if you've ever been on a diet and you're like, I'm doing really quote unquote good for days, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I let myself a one cookie and I ate the whole sleeve. That's why, right? So I think there's that. There's like the mental part of it. There is, and then we tend to fixate on those foods when we're not allowing ourselves them. And there's also one big thing for me. I know he said he didn't feel physically uncomfortable, but also a physical thing, right? It typically doesn't feel good to eat large influxes of food or large influxes of very sugary, high fatty, very dense foods, which those tend to be the kinds that we eat on a cheat day, right? So that's going to play into your digestion. Maybe you're going to have a little constipation, or there's also something called dumping syndrome where it just kind of goes right through you when you eat a lot of food, especially those high fat foods very quickly. So I don't recommend cheat days. Also, how much or how little you eat is not a flex, right? Comparing yourself to someone else, it does no good, which we'll get into that in a second. But I feel like social media is just like freaking obsessed with either these people eat so quote unquote healthy, they eat like so little, or they're obsessed with these like challenges. And I know he said it wasn't a challenge, but these extremes, right? We are just so interested by the extremes. And I do think that there's like an issue with that because the majority of the time people aren't eating in the extremes. And I think kind of going on that, he does say in the article that he was sick. So it is likely like your body is smart in the fact that if it was not getting enough energy because you were sick, it is going to have a higher appetite, right? So it makes sense why he is kind of like, I feel okay. His body probably did need extra calories. I can't say if he needed 17,000 of them, but he is also, again, he has a high metabolism. He has a lot of muscle on his body that has a high metabolic rate. So there's so many different things that could play into this. Moral of what I'm trying to say here is don't compare yourself to this person. And it doesn't mean that, you should be having cheat days or that you should be eating these amounts of food or that eating this much and you'll feel fine as well. Or just kind of like literally, should be like not a story, right? It's not a flex. And I think that we so often see these on social media where people are like, oh, I ate this much. It's like, wow, that's why is it impressive? Like, why? 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 Anywho, just remember, anytime you see what people eat on social media, it is not your life. And that's coming from someone who does full days of eating. I just put one out a couple weeks ago. They're your favorite. They're my favorite. I do think that they're helpful, and this is why I do them, right? Because I talk through the why behind my food choices and to give you some different ideas on what to eat. And I do think that it's not a bad thing to show what you eat in a day. I don't think there needs to be calories. I don't think that we need to know like the exact portions because that can cause comparisonitis, and understanding the why behind it is really, really key. So her obsession with things that are extreme lives on. But we have story number 3, which is, I'm here for this. This is like honestly some heartwarming news. I read this story and I was like, oh, that's great. I want to be a part of this. So, story number 3 says the title is What is Girlhood? TikTok's viral advice blog for Gen Z Girls Explained. So, it says it is a new blog that has gone viral on TikTok, and Gen Z girls are flocking in droves to the site. Being a teenage girl is hard, and social media and societal pressures don't make it any better. But some are finding solace in an online community dedicated to all the ups and downs of being a girl called Girlhood. The blog-style forum allows teen girls to seek advice from other girls who have been through similar situations. This new blog, created by 17-year-old girl, takes volunteers to provide advice and support to young girls in need. Young girls can write into the Girlhood blog with anything from normal teenage drama to seeking advice for mental health. It seems that this resource couldn't have come at a better time because recent reports from the Center of Disease Control and Prevention have revealed a bleak picture of teenage girls' mental health, showing 57% of teen girls felt persistently sad or hopeless in 2021, which is double the rate for teen boys, which was 29%. I just think that this is so cool, and I think it's gonna do, I was like, I'm way too old for this, but because they want it to be more of like people, younger people giving people advice. I do think you have to be, again, all of the articles are linked, so if you want to look into any of these, go down to the description. But I was like, I want to give all these girls advice. They wouldn't want to hear from a 30-something-year-old lady. But I just thought this was so cool. And I do think that there's so much value in the firsthand experience. And that's why I do all of my coaching in a membership style format from people all around the world to come together of all shapes, sizes, colors, abilities. And because there is so much value in, it's a two-way street. So you get value when you are obviously the person who asks the question, right? Because you're going to get people giving you advice. But you're also going to get value from giving advice because it's so easier to tell someone else something than it is to tell ourselves. I had a friend who was the other day talking to me about body image stuff, and I was just kind of talking through things to her, and I was like, wow, this was almost also like a encouraging pep talk to me. So like there's just so much value in the kind of like open communication and advice and forum, the community of it all, right? So I loved this, and I do think that it's really going to help girls with their body image, with any, eating struggles. I just think this is the coolest thing. Now, it does seem like my question was like, this could kind of get out of hand, but it does seem like that there's a lot of logistics set around the actual like running, like again, you have to apply to be able to give advice, and I'm sure it's going to be, I would assume, moderated in some way, but I just love this because I was also talking to my husband the other day and I was like, I say this isn't to that conversation at all. I say this a lot. I can't imagine what it would be like to grow up with social media now. Like it is bananas. I can't imagine. And actually the reason why we were talking about this was because we were talking about how we're just starting school back up. We're seeing more like high school age kids at the gym in the morning. And I am a the morning person. They open at 5:00. I'm there at 5:00. If you're at the gym, my gym, there's people that like wait outside. I will never be one of those people. I will not get there that early. Anywho, total tangent. If you go to my gym, you understand what I mean. But I just think that like the issue with being a kid like teenager, whatever, any age really, is that, and this is going back to kids at the gym, right? I was like, I think the reason why that started was because of social media and because of the rise of TikTok, because these high school age kids were seeing all these other people in the gym. They were kind of like starting to compare themselves to adults. And then so they started wanting to do what the adults were doing, which is going to the gym. So it kind of like that habit kind of trickled down to like the younger generations. That's my theory of why we've started in the past couple of years seeing so many more people, younger kids in the gym than we previously had. And then now they're posting it. So it's just become like this social norm of kids, but it started from them kind of like comparing themselves to people who are older. That's just my theory. But I just love this because I think it can hopefully combat a lot of the struggles that social media is causing. So I just love it. Girl power. Okay. Story 4 is Shenae Grimes, 33, shows off her story 4. Did I say 4 or 3? It's story 4. Shenae Grimes shows off her toned figure in a Calvin Klein bra and undies after the 90210 veteran was told she, quote unquote, aged badly. So Shenae claps back to comments saying that she aged poorly after sharing a throwback picture from when she was a teen actress. So the caption to her 509,000 followers also said, "She aged terribly is something I've heard about myself anytime I post a nostalgic clip from my past life as a teen," in caps, actor. And Grimes called out the culture of misleading content seen across the World Wide Web on a regular basis. One of the internet's best kept secrets is skewing our perception of reality in a big way. That said, I think transparency when it comes to beauty standards is more important right now than ever. The entertainer emphasized, adding, "I have so much respect and admiration for the badass," can we swear on YouTube? Badass, beautiful women I follow that open up about these topics, whether you choose to age naturally or with little help from your friends. In a world that tells you you look like crap if you don't chemically/surgically alter your face or body and shames you for being fake when glorifying your appearance when you do. It's tough out there, man, she wrote passionately. And she wrapped up her post by saying, "Thank you to the women bringing transparency to this topic, as terrifying as it is because of the harsh judgment that comes with it any which way. Let's all try to be a little more upfront and a hell of a lot kinder, please." Can I get an amen? Can I get an amen for that last part? Let's all just try to be kinder. Sometimes I feel like the girl from Mean Girls I think it's when they're doing the assembly, says like, "I just want us all to get along and bake cupcakes or make cakes and rainbows and something." Sometimes I literally feel like that girl, you guys. But I got so excited I lost my spot. First of all, I was interested in this story because I recently rewatched all of 90210, the reboot, and I was transported back to a place when I first watched the show, of how much I compared myself to those girls. So much. And it was kind of like, whoa, like, okay, you're not back in that place, Colleen. Like, you're watching this with so much more growth that you've had, and we don't need to do that anymore. But I did kind of like have to check myself, because it was like I was immediately transported back to that time. And it was just kind of a little bit of like a old mind warp. But yeah, so I was interested. The story kind of stuck out to me for that reason. But then I also think that with this story, like, I agree, going back to like what she actually said, not even about the like, you're going to change. So like, there's an issue. People are saying that like you're comparing her to her. I mean, she's not a teen, right? Of course. That's like saying comparing a 9-year-old to a 19-year-old to a 29. Like, no, we are going to age, and that's a good thing, right? Because there's so much more to life I would not want to be my 19-year-old self, right? And I think that the way that I am now, I always call them like, they're signs of life. They're signs of living, right? Any changes in your body, and that Are they always easy to accept? Absolutely not. But that's the way that I like to remind myself of anything. It's like, that's a sign that I've lived, and that's a good thing. You don't have to like whatever that is. You don't have to be like, woohoo, look at those stretch marks that I've got, or those age spots. It doesn't mean you have to like them, but I think that can help us handle them. So that was one thing that kind of stuck out to me about this article, but also her stance on, because I get asked about this a lot, her stance on cosmetic procedures like Botox or plastic surgery. I don't think it's necessarily a diety thing to do. I think everyone has body autonomy, and you get to decide what you do with your body. I don't think there's a right. I don't think there's a wrong. I think everyone gets to decide. I think we should think about why we're making that choice. Is it coming from a place of you wanting to do something? Is it coming from a place of societal pressure? Is it coming from a place of shame? Those are all kind of like things to consider. But I do think that one of the key things is transparency with it, because a lot of times, going back to social media, we'll be comparing ourselves to people on social media, and we think like, oh, why don't I look like them? Because they have, and this goes not even to transparency just in what someone does to their face or their body, but also like lifestyle transparency. Like a lot of times when we compare ourselves to the models or the celebrities, like they have people that do the meal prepping for them, right? Going back to that first article. But I just think that transparency is huge, and we only see a snippet of things on social media. And I was talking to a friend once, and she was talking about a mom influencer, and she was like, but what you don't see about that mom is she has a nanny on her vacations, and she has so much help. So like thinking about those things is key. And I'm not saying everyone has to like give every single detail of their life, but maybe that can also just go as a reminder to everyone watching this that, hey, just things to consider. You don't know the full picture of things. So we love it. We love people standing up for themselves and clapping back to the haters. Okay, story 5, guys. Story 5 says, I only ate raw meat for 100 days straight. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, but it transformed my life. All right. A dad who ate raw steak for 100 days straight claims that the diet has changed his life. Paulie Long, 30, who lives in Bali, Indonesia, started the challenge after switching to a food regimen made up of 90% raw meat. He claims the change, which includes eating testicles, earning him the name Testicle King, has boosted his digestion, energy levels, and overall mood. Paulie said, I wanted to experiment and see how I felt, and also show the public that eating raw meat is generally safe. Or is perfectly safe. So I get asked about the carnivore diet a lot from you guys, and that honestly we could do a whole video on that itself and get into more of like the intricacies of it. But one of the biggest things to consider, I think, especially if you're doing an all meat diet, is you could potentially literally get micronutrient deficiencies. We actually had a story a little while back about a raw vegan, I think it was raw vegan influencer who died because of malnourishment from such an extreme diet. So anytime we're cutting out whole food, that's why a lot of like diets I don't agree with, because we're cutting out a lot of times like whole food groups, that it's not just that food, there's micronutrients in there, there's the macronutrients. He says he feels perfectly fine, but a very low carb diet of just meat, that could really make someone feel fatigued. I don't know if because carbs are our body's preferred energy source, right? If a lot of people will be on keto and they're like, I feel exhausted, that can be why. I don't feel mentally there. Brain fog, keto brain is a thing. It's because your brain specifically prefers glucose, and most of it can only run on glucose. So your brain's going to be foggy, right? So there's that. I am not sure if he works out. I did scroll through his feed and I couldn't find any like workout videos, or maybe he just hasn't posted any recently, but not having carbohydrates can negatively impact your athletic performance. Sometimes I will notice it if I work out in the morning and maybe I don't know, I had a salad for dinner versus like pasta. Like, right, I physically notice a difference. So there's so many different things to consider, but the biggest thing that I think of as a registered dietitian is the micronutrients, things that a lot of people don't necessarily think of. You're probably not going to get that. There is also a risk of foodborne illness from, not properly kept raw meat. And there can also be concerns about things like saturated fat intake, which is not necessarily the greatest thing for our health. So again, we are obsessed with extremes. We are obsessed with extremes. And this is not something I would recommend as a registered dietitian. It doesn't sound enjoyable to me, but that's not for me to yuck your yum. But from a physiological, what our bodies need, I do not recommend this. And also just to remember that just because you see things that people swear by on the internet, you can't always believe it, right? People, don't have all the credentials. They likely aren't giving you the full picture. I think that also they're not you, right? And that's why I am all for not having food rules. And I, even with that, am not going to tell you what to or what to not eat, because I want to teach you how to do that, right? Because what makes you feel good might be different from what makes me feel good, might be different from someone else. And that's going to also ebb and flow throughout our lives as our bodies physically change, as we age, what they need changes, our lifestyle changes. So just remember that anytime you see, especially these extremes, or someone saying like, do this, I think this is the best way to eat, that doesn't mean you might not learn something from them, right? Maybe you get a new recipe, or like, oh, try this. Oh, that does make me feel good. We can't take those things as truth or fact 100% of the time. And to bring it back full circle to the beginning of this, a lot of our perception of what is healthy and what is not is very, very skewed. So I would highly recommend, if you have not, you got to the end of this video, thanks for sticking around, go down to the description, take that quiz. It'll take you 30 seconds. It'll give you advice. It'll give you the breakdown. And just so you can know that you are on the best path for you and a sustainable approach to nutrition, naturally craving a balanced diet, moderation, becoming easy, all of those things, the quiz is a very, very great place to start for that. But with that, you guys, that is the end of our stories today. I hope you liked this video. Please let me know what your thoughts were in the comment section. Be sure to subscribe. Like I said, hit the little bell to be notified. These videos come out every Thursday, and they're just fun, casual sit downs. Just, pop it on maybe as you're doing work in the afternoon or as you're cooking dinner. I always love some good content to listen to as I cook dinner. Obviously, you can just listen. You don't need to physically sit down and watch me. I tend to talk with my hands a lot. I mean, if you like that, go for it. But just a chance for us to chitty chat and catch up from the week. So with that, you guys, I hope you have a lovely, lovely Thursday, or whatever day it is that you are watching this. And thank you for being here. I love you all, and I will see you in the next video. See you later.